It smashed its own record in the second quarter, delivering more than 95,000 cars. And Tesla shares, as you can see for the day, up 4.5%. And this is a really good performance because it has been underperforming year to date. Now, the record quarter marks a big rebound for Tesla after a steep slump in deliveries to just 63,000 in the first 3 months of 2019. Automotive expert Lauren Fix, a.k.a. the car coach, is in Buffalo for us. Great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, this is an interesting move.
Thanks for having me.
A very competitive environment. They want to get into mainstream. Can they get it right? And are these numbers sustainable?
I don't know if the numbers are sustainable. They had huge discounts and they lowered the prices in order to increase the total amount of sales. Certain countries are offering some pretty excessive discounts. And they have to remember there's some serious competition. The Jaguar I-Pace, the Audi e-tron, Mercedes has vehicles. Pretty much all the manufacturers are offering all-electric vehicles. So the competition is increasing. More models are coming out. So it's going to be very hard to sustain those numbers. In addition, Tesla's lost a lot of executives over the last couple weeks. So they're going to have to replace those executives and put some money into their service facilities on a global basis.
All right, stay with us a moment, Lauren, because America has just lost a titan of the auto industry. Lee Iacocca, the man who made the Ford Mustang, an American icon, has died aged 94. I want to get your thoughts in just a moment, but first, here's Stephanie Elam with Iacocca's legacy.
Anthony Iacocca, better known as Lee, was born in the Rust Belt in Allentown, Pennsylvania in 1924. Trained as an engineer, he vaulted to auto industry superstardom by helping design and championing the amazingly popular Ford Mustang.
This is the car that dreams are made of.
He also fathered the world's first minivan.
Dodge Caravan, Plymouth Voyager. They're the most versatile wagons ever built in America. There's nothing like them.
With a master's degree from Princeton, Iacocca started at Ford in 1946 as an engineering trainee. He earned his reputation with Ford's racing program in the 60s, but found his place in history with the introduction of the Ford Mustang at the 1964 World's Fair.
The Mustang can be tailored to be virtually anything its buyer desires.
The Mustang was an overnight success. It spawned the American muscle car movement and is still in production today. He was named president of the company 26 years later in 1970. Despite his success at Ford, in 1978 he was unceremoniously fired by company chairman and namesake Henry Ford II, who told him, according to Iacocca's autobiography, "Sometimes you just don't like somebody." Within months he was hired at Chrysler. The next year, Iacocca was named CEO. The company was in serious financial trouble and nearly out of business. But Iacocca persuaded Washington to bail Chrysler out with $1 billion in federal loans. As part of that effort, he agreed to take a personal salary of just $1 a year. Even so, he took heat from critics when he cashed in stock options worth millions. His response was vintage Iacocca.
I mean, that's the American way. If little kids don't aspire to make money like I did, what the hell good is this country? Gotta give him a role model, right?
Iacocca was Chrysler's pitchman. He starred in 61 Chrysler commercials, touting American cars and American values.
I have one and only one ambition for Chrysler, to be the best.
He made Chrysler profitable again and paid the government back every penny. He did it with an emphasis on quality.
If you can find a better car, buy it.
Iacocca introduced longer warranties, lower prices, and a new kind of vehicle. The minivan sold so well, dealers had waiting lists 6 to 10 months long. Iacocca's quest for new models actually redefined the landscape for Detroit's Big Three. He engineered the buyout and eventual demise of number 4 carmaker American Motors, just so he could add AMC's Jeep brand to Chrysler's inventory. Iacocca chaired the commission that raised almost $300 million to restore Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty.
We remember the millions drawn here by that flame, and we renew our commitment to the ideals that kept it burning.
Iacocca was known for talking tough, and he often sounded like a politician.
The administration seems to understand the importance of bargaining chips in nuclear disarmament, for example, but they don't have the faintest idea how to bargain in trade.
In the 1980s, he resisted entreaties to run for the White House himself, but has campaigned since for both Republican and Democratic presidential candidates. Iacocca retired from Chrysler when he was 68. Yet when the company presented him with a legacy award 20 years later, his vision couldn't be any clearer.
I think the big three is coming back.
One car was ever named for Iacocca, a 45th anniversary special edition Mustang produced in 2009.
What did you expect?
All right, Lauren, I mean, what a great speaker, what a fantastic chief executive, and also an incredible salesman. What are we going to remember from him? I mean, what an incredible legacy.
He had an incredible legacy, and he was a leader. He also was involved in Diabetes Foundation, trying to raise money to find a cure. He really was a person for all people. I mean, he was as good as the people that were behind him. When he left Ford and went to Chrysler, he hired the best people in order to make the minivan a success. He built the Jeep brand back up. He really was someone that we all looked up to. And as a Mustang person, we named our daughter Shelby. He was the father of the Mustang and the Maverick and the Mark III. So he really was a truly impressive man, and he's really what the auto industry is all about. And we in the auto industry are very sad to see him go. At 94, he certainly lived life to the fullest.
Absolutely. I mean, and what's also interesting is that, you know, receiving a government bailout and then paying that money back, almost setting the scene in terms of, you know, the government needing to help the auto industry during bad times. It's interesting that he set that precedent.
Yeah, he did set the precedent, because before you would never see the government bail out any manufacturer. But when he went to the federal government and said, listen, I need $1 billion, that was unheard of. And he said, I'm going to pay you back. And in order to actually do that, he built cars like the K car, and we all know about the minivan. But to build vehicles that consumers wanted and to bring back American-built cars and to make a statement like, if you can buy a better car, then buy it. You know, this is a best-built car. And they did a great job, and Chrysler survived because of that, and they paid back the loan, which sets a better precedent. It's not just the loan, it's paying it back.
Absolutely. I mean, made in America, that was his big motto at a time where we saw so much competition from the outside and imported vehicles. You know, what are some of the best cars that he was able to produce locally that, I mean, obviously the Mustang, but what else are we going to be seeing going forward that he'll live on in our memories and on the roads?
Well, the Mustang is still the #1 selling sports car. It outsells the Camaro and the Corvette combined. So you're still seeing great Mustangs come out, and Ford is still producing cars that are part of his heritage. For example, the Ford GT, which is the supercar that Ford is making just for a few years, represents those 4 years where Ford beat Ferrari, and that's part of his racing history. But you're looking on the Chrysler side, the Jeep brand is so successful. The Ram truck line from Chrysler is very successful. And you also started to see that evolution of SUVs, which he was a part of with Jeeps and minivans. So it's really great to see how that whole industry has risen. Cars are not as popular, but SUVs and minivans and that new technology that we all crave to want to be safer on the road and still be connected, that's what you're starting to see come down the road. And that's all part of him starting this big change of looking ahead and made in America.
Lauren, thank you so very much for your time. Great to have you on the show. So coming up, one of the best-known executives in the cannabis industry says he's been fired. We'll hear from former CEO